Yeah, you, Annie, and Will. It's alphabetical. I didn't name you. Are we? Oh, God. This is where it gets nerve-wracking. Say run. Ah! Hi, everybody. We're live. Welcome to CAPS Green Kill Sessions presents Calling All Poets every second Thursday for April 13th, 2023. My name is Mike Dracovic. I will be your host. Our three featured readers tonight are Samuel Claiborne, Annie Christine, and Will Nixon. I will bring Samuel up as our first reader in a couple moments, but let me just tell you a little bit about what we do here. We're going on about our second year. We started doing this during COVID when people were saying, man, are the readings ever coming back? And we're like, yeah, you just have to either tune in or come in live. So this is what we've been doing for 2 years. You can go up on Green Kill Sessions Presents and look for Calling All Poets and all the other wonderful things that Dave Shell does here at his multidisciplinary, multi-dimensional, multi-lit, multi-camera audio gallery here at 229 Greenkill Avenue in Kingston, New York. Calling All Poets is going on its 24th year. We are now in our 24th year, and we're making plans for our 25th. We will be going live for our first Friday events for the first time in 3 years at the Unison Project Center at 9 Parodies Lane in New Paltz, and that's on May 3rd. So join us there if you can. And how about we get the show started? I want to thank everybody who's come in live. I want to thank everyone who's online. And let me introduce our first featured reader. Samuel Claiborne is a poet, essayist, composer, musician, and shamanic healer. A native New Yorker, he now makes his home in Rosendale, New York. His poems have been published and anthologized, included in Chronogram magazine and the anthologies Voices of the Valley and Riverine. And yet, through a combination of disorganization and laziness, hey man, we're all part of that, he remains implacably anonymous. His political and cultural commentaries have been published in the New York Times op-ed page and broadcast on Northeast Public Radio. Mr. Claiborne is a former quadriplegic whose work is informed by his experiences while paralyzed and profound gratitude for his recovery. His poetry ranges in subject matter from meditations on nature to erotica, cosmology, and the nature of self. He is currently at work on his first book, a memoir about his recovery from quadriplegia and how it led him into the healing arts, and has released several CDs, including the New York FA award-winning solo acoustic piano improvisations, The Annunciation, and if I may do a public service announcement, that is a wonderful record. And the political and personal rock and experimental album, Love, Lust, and Genocide, both on Sonotrope Recordings. It is my pleasure to bring up my old friend, Mr. Samuel Claiborne. Yay! Come on. Little hand clap.
Hi there. It's going to go a little higher. Buena. All right, so I have a book coming out later in the year, but it's not done yet, and I thought it's spring, so why not read some juicy, sexy poems? And because juicy, sexy things often end up ending in tears, also some post-juicy, sexy poems about the end of relationship. So this one is called Helen of Memphis. I well remember the rhythm of our moving, the tide we kept, our joyous gnashing of teeth, our lungs entwined in an endless halation, suffusion of refraction in the house of projection. I told you I'd heal one wound, yet sculpt another. Little did I know that your voice, your eyes, your uneven breathing would be the chisel. Your arms cantilevered across the nunnery gallery, curated traumas, clung to and curling in newfound silence like smoke after a barrage. But the tide, the river, The breath you held, then released into me, our obligate joy unalloyed. These nimbi still suffuse, impel me in the afterglow to want someone else more. Thank you. Two of the poems I'm going to read tonight were from a series where I was trying to articulate the differences between a male orgasm and a female orgasm. And it's pretty funny because they're totally different, and in a sense I realize they're the same because they both involve sort of becoming the universe. So this is the, my take on the female orgasm. It's called Feverfew. My joints are suffused with feverfew. An oily talus clogs the base of my spine, and my eyes are covered in opium gauze. No tooth or fist or thoughtless thought can open me to pain when I'm ached with long. I want you inside me. I want to suck the marrow from your bones. I want to spread myself and grow a cunt, an oily rainflower for you to petal strew with your new-grown cock. I want you to rage within me, to take me, to feel your seed bursting through me, my walls clinging ridged and rigid to every hot drop. I want to bend myself open, wider, wider, take all of your wonderment inside me, hold you there in liquid grasp, vising down on you with ruthless force, permitting no exit until I sing my song of no sound and all sound, the keening of knowing, the entry into everywhere, until I burst you with my joyous noise. Gosh, there's actually a thing here to hold my poems. How funny. This is just a plain up love poem. It's called Home. When your blood song is done and the wind sighs through your teeth, I will come to you, bearing wine in my mouth like fish carried to a nestling. When your cry has echoed its last and your lungs are raw yet sweet, I will come to you, salving you with honeyed movement to famish your hunger with opulent sweat. When your leopard stretch has ebbed and your long-limbed succulence stilled, I will come to you, drinking from you with eyes alight, like water pulls water from capillary wells. When your sleep has consumed you, and you rise and fall like cities and churches, I will come to you, glancing your curves with breath like milk to nourish you with my pulse. And as you navigate your night, I will await my time, adrift in your murmuring currents, awaiting my time to swim your sea, to stroke once more towards home. All right. This is actually a pretty recent one. Desiderata. Or is it Desiderata? I don't know. Desiderata plucked at my liver, having feasted upon my heart. She buried herself maw-deep in that mass of bloody tubules, mazed city of cisterns and sewers, fed until I was emptied. Then rose up, eyes to eyes, pressing in so close that her bitter corneas scraped mine. She stood tall and broad-shouldered, drying iron bearding her chin. More, she whispered while shouting, it's never enough. There is never enough blood or sacrifice. Give me that pouch of bile, palate cleanser extraordinaire. Its astringence clears away all pretense and reveals you as merely another angry beast. Give me that creamy spleen, resplendent with heme, lymph flowing through it like absinthe through sugar. Let it sing along my blood-stuck tongue, trilling down my insatiable gullet. How grateful I am for your sacrifice, she caroled, her hunting song pealing through sticky lips as the light at last faded from my eyes. You can tell that was a really good relationship. I'm going to put my glasses on here. So this one is the other poem about orgasm. This is called Coming. Inward surge of oil over muscle, glassine trembling and catgut torque, held and webbed in chicanes of tender iron, pressing through and through your exhalations, parsing every curve and fold and broken breath. Finally, the booming, blooming, the yell that has no end, the sound pulled from my belly and bowel and over sharp teeth and overfilled lungs. My shoulders suddenly so impossibly broad that I span seas, topple mountains, carry the earth on my wanton back, rippling, surging, forward, incarnate and discarnate and indomitable, ahead, across, through, into. My strength, my rage for pleasure, my fullness of the taking, exchanged at last for my own yielding, the meeting point that emboldens both, and I am mortal once more. I was in a dream poetry group for years at the Center for Symbolic Studies, and there was a much older woman, this is probably about 20 years ago, she was probably like 80, and in the dream poetry group, somebody would recount a dream, and then we would all write speed poems based on that dream. And she'd had a dream of desiring all these young men, and she'd woken up feeling really enlivened, and she'd been a widow for a long time. And this poem was inspired by that. It's called Across a Field of Marrows. Overlit with early green, kids rushing like their goat child namesakes around a maypole tower straining to contain spring. Alive and out of control, lush and lithe and so powerful, like you, my husband, when we made our own children long ago on slow mornings and cold nights. I saw only green, vibrant green, green like walks in the woods where every leaf and frond and bud pried open my eyes to shake my brain. Green like the limbic smell of clover hay. Green like coming in your arms with you inside me when we made our own children so long ago. Green like the last light I will ever see. So I danced with you all you young boys with daft smiles on supple lips, your hips unformed yet full of promise, your loins still frail but growing toward bucking. One day you will push through and know the slick hot places we only dance around. But for now, our guiltless pleasure rains down to alight on my hips, lips, limbs, and nipples, and loosens me from this mortal coil for this moment only. I don't know if anybody's been sailing. I used to teach sailing on these little dinky sailboats in Cape Cod Bay. So the question is this poem about a woman or a sailboat? That is the question. So it's called Terra Nova. She shakes ever so slightly, a sighing tremor caught between a laugh and a last breath. Long-limbed as a colt, she stretches to an impossible fineness, pulse points alight. Home is where her heart is, where the sea is, where the part of her born into this life forgetting remembers. She beats rhythms on the sheets, a muffled flamenco, like a cat without claws, her fire denuded in sleep, waking now in red conflagration. She is arcing again to the growing sound, a rustling like a million wheat stalks, aroused by a wind that has transited oceans in hot pursuit of dawn. Her wake is subsumed into the mother sea. Her ardor bells out as dolphins race to catch her. She shimmies as if a rictus of unbearable pleasure has created tetany in motion, and she arcs farther, telltales rustling, lungs heaving, and comes about. I wrote 2 poems called My Hands, one about my second wife, actually, and one about a poet who used to live here in the Hudson Valley but shall remain nameless. So this poem is called My Hands Be. My hands still float down your belly, still sleep in the perfect bowl of your hips, bathing in the currents of your fecund dynamo, generator of light and keeper of secrets. The wheel of your womb, its sacred meridians splayed out in a chakra bouquet like mandarin orange slices, splined from the vendor's hands in twilight in Beijing. Chinese opera sung in the parks by longtime neighbors, their voices chafed, their smiles contradicting their songs of lost love. Love as impermanent as the water calligrapher's brushwork, subliming into the Gobi air. And this one is called My Hands, Amy. My hands think for themselves. They trail down your hips and fly up your spine, becoming and blooming, palms opening like mouths drinking in the tide of your brow. My fingers ache to talk to you, circling in Sanskrit and linear B, incising and painting with nacre and indigo, purling chains of lace, embroidering torments of laments. They stalk your curves, seeking that which sometimes rises when called, but cannot sustain inhabitants without blessings. They are aching to translate all that is rising within you, aching to hold your heart aloft as it beats air into light. This is called Love is the Drug, No Apologies to Brian Ferry. Looking forward to the swing and sway, the delirium and quietude, the vast incorporeal pass between the membrane of now and then, soft breath in soft light. I've loved love all my life, a drug of some consequence, sequestered in small glances and limbs trailing spice. I've sold myself to it, supine inhalations in a den of inequity, place of sun-blind languor. I've loved you more than I've loved myself, which is impossible, which means I'm a liar. I've chaliced my lips with your liquor, willingly burned in its distillery fire. I've looked everywhere but in here for the place of refuge. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. This is called The Wren Startles the Heart. I woke up smelling you and coffee, both apocryphal. The wren singing so hard yet happy through the paned glass. My chest softened, then breached by alloys of scent and promises. I wondered at the lie of longing, the editing fervor of the errant heart. I forced myself to remember why I left you, floating in your private sea. And still you sang with a volume that rattled all the loose parts of me, loosed in cascades of regrets, missing the loosing of the brimming tide of hosannas sung in our garden, of clean desert and arid ocean, the swells of rogue waves spilling over ticking dunes. This is a really short one. This is actually also written about my second wife. 2 suns. I said we were 2 moons, but I was wrong. 2 moons shed no light on each other. Even if trapped together, they are alone, tracing a cold dance through an empty sky. No, we are 2 suns. Caught in each other's path, we circle. There is no night between us, only bright burning day. So this poem starts with the greatest pickup line in history as far as I'm concerned. I think if Pablo Neruda had used this line on me, I would have screwed him. So the line is, I want to do with you what spring does with the cherry trees. Pablo Neruda. So this poem is called More Than Spring. And by the way, a dumbed down version of this poem is actually on my CD, Love, Lust, and Genocide. It's called Succulents on that CD. More than spring, to hold you in sacred security, to kiss away your dread with slow fingers, pliant hands, and teeth like fallen saints, muttering apocrypha and blasphemy. To plunge you into a land of cry and sky, heat and noise, succulence surfacing on your face, all semblance abraded by that which brings your breath short, your heart fast, and your eyes wide. To hold you there in that wordless sound, upright and singing, cresting the sky where black space meets blue air for as long as you can breathe. That is my will, my power, my glory. That is why I love you. That is how I want you. I am the place of safety where the greatest risks can be taken, the place of refuge where your raw throat can cry out, unbidden and unrepentant. Conquer your fear. Make it rue the day it took you prisoner. Tear it limb from limb as I take you, make you, slake you. Drink of me, all of me. Take of my sinew and silence. Take my ruthless strength and tender patience. Take my brain call and ride that rough sound down to your own smooth siren, and let them both ring into your belly like a bell that has no end. No, not your spring alone, but your summer as well. Iron heat and charged light thundered all around. Your fall, colors overbrimming your eyes through the bittersweet lengthening of evening, moving slowly through the hesitancy of morning. My light coming slyly through the window to rouse you with a whisper where I once trumpeted glory. Your winter, downy and muffled, adrift in a warm bundle, arms, fingers, thighs slack, bones unfused and sprung in your time of after, holding you with slow breath while you await spring's limbic call to bud once more. And speaking of spring, this is actually a new one. It's called Spring Forecast. A lithe catenary swing from hips to lips as yet untouched. What will she taste like along the trail of tears? Will she kiss with abandon and hunger or as softly as a newly unshorn sea green leaf? Will she move with remembered fervor, or will she be awkward and new? Ecstasy and grief tug in a riptide along her brow. She thrills and quails in the massive change carrying her. A new current slowly making its direction known. Her body is still unbowed, pleasure forgotten, yet ready to blossom again. I think I only have like 2 more here, so, yep. Let's see, a couple more here. This one is the only bilingual poem I have ever written, and I hope my pronunciation is not too terrible. It's called Jess of the Sun. Drawn to her by surprise and without agenda, quick-fingered with a mischievous mouth, her smile born in a warmer place. She read me, then saw my energy rising unasked to meet hers. We danced while sitting in that crowded room. Then in dreams sharper than a straight razor, brighter than a welder's light, she came and rode me exultant in her golden aura. I the charger launching her skyward, she the carrier of lightning. Suave pero duro, centimetro y centimetro agonizante preciso, despacio, duro, oh suavecito mi corazón, luz eterna mi alma. So the translation for that is soft but hard, centimeter by agonizing centimeter. Slow, hard, soft, my heart. Eternal love, my soul. Let's see, what do we got here? Couple more. The man says a couple more. All right. These three are all written by somebody I had an amazing unrequited love for, who is now a really good friend of mine, which is kind of cool. But I'll only read two because he said a couple more. This is called Dancing Round the Mountain. The mountain comes bearing spring like fish in the mouths of her brooks. Water bells out of ice falls like syruped marrow. She quarries herself through rock fall mazing, and your eyes cycle the clouds like blue figments. The mountain prepares the dynamo, sparks the fireflies, lifts her embers to you. Her ladders of geese batten the sky. You draw your yearling breath, susurrus of compliance to the season's unbending, and unfold toward air's edge, hair flaying the trees. Knotted voice, bursting calves, circling her flanks, lingering over her crevasses, littering her shoulders with your sweat, chalking yourself against her agate breast, until she abrades your doubts, sculpts your hands into her voids, and remembers you. That's what happens when you have a crush on a rock climber. Let's see. Do the two. He says do the two. All right. This one is called The Green Canopy. The leaves are waking to turning, still green but remembering their ending. 82,000 shades of green, all knowing their ending. Autumn aged, you still move like a lioness, but bowed inward as if dancing only on exhalations. You are a demon of arms and legs and fleeting smiles that emanate frail light. Blue eyes that impel incursions of green, shrapnel floating around your irises. Your trust in love, your mistrust of love, like the diamond embracing coal, the alike and unlike entwined, suspended and ungrounded, each solution upward, too risky to contemplate, each trail down, unguarded and unbelayed. You are the only one who can climb out of this bivouac on your own when your season returns to you, and it will. But for now, warmth flees as the earth turns, and we hold our breath waiting for iron ground to break us this winter and the floods to wake us next spring. This one is called Lexi. You danced like a dervish, warrior muscle and moon goddess ligament, kinetic potential of a stalking leopard. Your immaculate belly calling out for touch while your fire-hardened calves and resolute intercostals armored you in play. Yet those same perfect tangents of tendon and bone also called out for touch softer than the keening stone you rail and press against, the fires you leap, the taut cables you fly from. A slower, dearer touch, a touch of infinite mercy and total abandon, of indenture and freedom. Perhaps you fear its quietness and its rampant unbidden noise, its moteless, indefensible path to the heart. But your dervish touch is ecstatically safe, so fast and hard and joyous that it leaves no room for loss. It pressed into my cells. It pressed into my cells, my hips, my lungs, while your mitochondrial song chanted my pulse. And your dervish smile persisted even as you kissed my salt-licked neck, and your arboreal arms swung from my shoulders, telling me you belong here with us. Thank you.
Here's a real brain twister. Can you remember even the last time you read for us?
Oh, gosh. Long, probably 7 years ago.
It was a while ago. Samuel Claiborne, everyone. It's always good to have him back. I'm going to wait to do the public service announcements towards the end. Our next featured reader is Annie Christine. She is a professor of composition and English as second language at SUNY Cobleskill and a former artist resident of the Shanghai Swatch Art Piece Hotel and the Arctic Circle Art and Science Expedition. Her poems have appeared in Seneca Review, Oxford Poetry, Prelude, and The Lifted Brow, among others. She was a first place winner of the Driftwood Press in-house poem contest and received the grand prize of the Hart Crane Memorial Poetry Contest, the Greb Gungner Poetry Award, the Oakland School of the Arts Program Enneagram Poetry Award, and the Neil Shepard Prize in Poetry. Man, you must have quite the mantle. Whew. Her books include Tall as You Are, Tall Between Them, C&R Press 2016, and The Vanguards of Calligraphy, Headmistress Press 2021, selected for Sappho's Prize in Poetry. A first-time reader for Calling All Poets, Annie Christine.
This is a poem from my first book. Wondering if I'm a descendant of the Nephilim while lying on a merry-go-round at Prentice Park. It has come to pass, my back on a merry-go-round. Is there another name for it? Or here is a Valentine's Day box. Inside, a photo of 19th century Toledoans staring at a 9-foot 8-inch human skeleton, wind, atomic sand fused to olive glass, 12,000 years old, a vestige, primordial hands on primordial single-celled forms spinning long jaws of wisdom teeth. My reworking of proleptic into symbols for you to paint onto your body when it feels misplaced the most. Funny how subatomic particles can communicate with one another despite distance instantaneously. I look for clues like the salt shaker trick, where one must figure out which number corresponds to each pattern, as if the placement of the two shakers means anything. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. What about this? When all that matters is what is said. What about equals 1, and then equals 2? What if I equals 3, now we equals 4? And if we realize there was only one shaker the whole time, or that what is said is only what we want to hear enough to create, I find myself saying, place the tongue in peppercorns until boiling in water to barely cover the taste of, before I see you. Do you already know? I must tell someone, yellow stars of flakes surrounding the pupils are clues one has blue-green eyes. I was serious in the bathtub after the dead woman was ceremoniously covered with quarters. Rh negative blood does not seem to follow human evolution. I buried the pine cone seeds I love the most, but in a time capsule. A nun saw cologne trail a man as blue fumes and felt responsible. Humans evolved the most rapidly during an ice age. Now imagine a woman covering a fallen god with cloth while he is staring down, waiting. What if I feel your extra vertebrae, if I know where to look, and then barely touch the corner of a leaf onto your lips to show you what it is? Now we forget what about your hands made them cold. Thank you. This poem was inspired by The First Days of Spring by Salvador Dali. Watching our other selves from afar and influencing their course of action by touching each other for the first time here. There we are. I dissolve my hands into a bucket for you until what's left looks like pinchers. You're not alarmed. You know the thick liquid is still connected to me and has feeling. I didn't even consider I could absorb the essence of the bucket. The bucket's been the witness to many murders. It likes to be filled with skeptics and dismantled wallpaper pasting machines. It wonders how it can make its surface feel like toast. I can survive as long as the bucket isn't moved too far from my body. I can't stop the bucket from being moved too far from my body. You squat to hold me up. The way your shirt wraps around you without any buttons reminds me, are the crows taking away and returning your Aztec thought form for my benefit? Those boots must be projecting you. 2 crickets reproduce below the underage flapper girl tattoo on a non-resisting man's partially shaved head. This excites you. You bite the elastic band holding my face. You draw me closer with your legs as if you don't have fingers either. My drippings become tubers. The framed baby wants to understand. Any second now, a tuber could be stolen and I'd die. But no one prepared me for what would happen when I stopped holding my knees, thinking, yes, yes, for you. You're also the little girl holding out her paper bag offering. Everyone says no, and your shadow reveals you're holding nothing, not even your arms. I make the monk ask you, why don't people tabulate every lack of profit so the mark becomes one? Everyone else's shadow is the suited man straddling the other suited man who's lying on top of a skeleton, watching and wanting your every move. Okay, so this is a poem that's more of a sound poem, but it's also a dictionary kind of entry, like the style of a dictionary entry. Done when no longer pink inside. Of supposing to heat brackets on a bold-faced trench coat suddenly added. Informal, as how turkeys run like us, as how the new law says turkeys are not to be killed or worried. Therefore, a vase cannot be thrown to break since turkeys might become worried enough to remember they could be light enough to fly in front of others, to die without us. But first they must become wild, like any of the various ways I dream of your morning hand in between Hume's long degradations. The missing shade of blue really your hand in an infinite degradation of itself, mostly in reds. As I wake to imagine I was right, for no logical reason except for how I feel when I make myself feel near it, when I rub your mistakes. When what is left has become architecture, analogous to finding the presence of your neck in the trench coat collar warmer than the brackets. And what are they? Archaic, like the thoughts your hands keep, like your wire hanger brought here to be hot against all the others, like touching the small of your back, because I read you should like it. Though lab mice are never asked what they prefer, and that could change everything. Asking you what you think of syllabic dots until I'm not shocked anymore. You finally waking up to smile in a direction beyond me, the quality of taking it to mean mice always ask questions when we think they aren't learning. The swinging hanger derivative of throwing out the results when we agree we are in the best painful variance form we never expected. Newly marked by how you ask me why I'm wearing your trench coat, my dreaming of flying through blue vases to keep up with your changing hand, to talk to your hand as with my hand, see map of India, practicing the principle that every day is anywhere else, hoping you're happy as I am warm with your tempering refinement. The habit of imagining mice turning into turkeys, into your hand I trace on paper with the reddest plume without comparison for you and I to reach for with your hand when it leaves and returns. Realizing I must be acknowledging even now I miss you. Done when no longer pink inside, etc. All right. Yes. This poem I wrote in a workshop where we were assigned to write a poem to another person in that workshop, and I decided I wanted to be someone from the Flat Earth Society, so writing a poem to that person. Okay. Pretending to go and come from heaven by fire. The disk we live on is going up. My heart's opium dreamed in triangulation when I first saw you, so I thought you might be feeling the same way, like we were holding the ocean in. Then, despite all available technology that presents around Earth, on Tuesday, your smile displayed our tryst in the true level of flats. How foolish you must think I am, since you're spherical most other times, but I know what passed between us. When your lips move and twist like ball-light churches, I wonder, could I ever share a round earth belief? Well, I went to the San Bernardino Mountains and carved NASA is Babel, claiming and pretending to go and come from heaven by fire. I did that, and then I saw my message on photos NASA claims are from Mars. So no, I could never truly walk on the slant. Are you on the side of world conquest and the sun and moon not being the same size? If you don't share my feelings, just keep things as if this letter never happened in your spinning ball world. There's only a wall of ice keeping me from going over the edge. Okay, so this will be the last one from this book. And this one was written about the person who attacked George Harrison, or was inspired by that after reading articles about that. So that was where it started, and then I was thinking, what if he was recruited to do this to George Harrison? So then I'm imagining this kind of background story of him being selected amongst all these other people who were trying to do it, and he was the best candidate. Villagers chop them in half, thinking they are snakes. In a network of underground tunnels, I created white monoatomic gold because I refused to sit around on welfare. The more electrodes I wore, the more I saw the squire as the fabric cube my body formed around. My own fingerprints on my body added to his mass. When the floor supervisor heard my heart monitor ring, I told him I had to be the first person to spread out the squire's fingers if I ever were commanded to burn them with grease. I was ordered to put black beans in every hole of a skull and water it with rum. Beans sprouted. After the Holy Spirit Apollo yelled at him, I got my anointed pancakes. To tell the truth, Moscow's coat of arms appeared on my cheek. I assumed the squire's power came from Queen Elizabeth's stag beetle brooches. Soon I knew he was a pre-Adamic man who kept racism in Oldham and who prevented me from having a girlfriend for 9 years. I even wanted to crush him with the crystal New Jerusalem that floats above the old one, thanks to the tall blonde aliens who masquerade as Jesus. But Lord help me, as soon as my knife entered his chest, I saw him, a Vedic yogi undulating knee-deep in the monsoon soils of India, with legless amphibians encircling. I thought, no one deserves to die in shock from the knife of a farmer who thinks you're a snake, even though I stabbed him 9 more times. Queen Elizabeth, just let me be normal. Okay, so this is from my second book now. And let's see here. How would I describe this? I'm not going to. All right. We never really touch anyone because of molecules. Anyone can wear molecules of what they say they represent, but I need yours. The boombox I place over my head outside your window records proof of your existence, though colliding isn't actually touching. I described the rings of Jupiter into the tape recorder before NASA reported on them, a symbol as a surgical tool. And if we were all mathematical gear wheel cutouts, the first programmable device, that means you are too. All I know is that a fallen one who is not in your body is in hell. My brain fills in the rest. In the documentary, I made a Valentine's Day card that said, I love Mama because she keeps a gun at her bedside table. But the filmmaker said that wasn't a good reason. I told him he never had to realize while naked and bleeding how even the color of his front door could set someone off in this world. I just wanted to trick him into saying he was there too. One family kept all concepts of time and dates away from their daughter. Another child broke her bones for attention. My church has a sanctuary just for this I built for you. These days, the equivalent of 13 people taking off their clothes, trying to make the calendar work with 1 or 2 blank days I'm trapped in, is heavy on my mind. I saw Jupiter's rings, but in the folds from one moment to another, it's not a face, it's a city. It's not space, it's a black rectangle inserted in the frame. In Revelation, John wrote locusts. Vietnam vets say Cobra helicopters. Or John just had a vision of a helicopter movie, and the movie was only made so John would see it. A widescreen cinema screen and the monolith from 2001 share the same dimensions. People my age know all about the special children, with electrodes on our heads, moving military milk cap coinage with our minds, being asked how we feel. I still haven't gotten paid. I only left my body to access the doctored photo of Jupiter's rings. No actual ones exist. Some human-looking face in a stone wall or in the chalk toss pre-game ritual isn't what you are. It's just what helps me to survive. So we're coming close to the end. I think I'll read maybe two more. Three more. This one is the title of the book, The Vanguards of Holography. Yes. And this one's just kind of about paranoia. It was inspired by The Trial by Kafka. And the quote I have here is, "He realized at once that he shouldn't have spoken aloud, and that by doing so he had, in a sense, acknowledged the stranger's right to oversee his actions." We know that when your kids hear adults scream, they don't yet have a need to apologize just to make it stop, but we need this excitement. As gregarious scientists of humans, only one of us can play out in your brain long enough to build a map of your home. In the meantime, I need to hear you cry more than once in public. I use ultrasound to disrupt the air around your hologram and insert a tumor inside of it. You are going to become infected without us anyway. I could just see us holding a skull, asking the youth to reach inside while you get sick. It's not possible for us to gain anything by pretending to like you, so we work on you while we are very upset with you. Each dissected piece of the mouse brain contains the whole, so nothing we've done to you is irreversible. If it weren't for the glitch, I would be sitting in court right now with lots of work to do in 2001 with Al Gore as president. Though I destroyed the Buddhist ruins, the 3D light projection replacement was going to create many jobs, but no one else saw it that way. I won't go back. I was here first with devil clip art. I will make Tupac my student. So many people are writing down their intentions, sprinkling the paper with blood, and uploading it to the internet. I know all about it. Space is water, compasses are spears of destiny, so that's why they were removed as Monopoly game pieces. Every compass points to me. Be content with the iron as we tell you all the things about yourself you don't know. We are the vanguards of holography, and I'm blocking your way from the memory of the earth. Okay, so yes. So kind of inspired by Jimi Hendrix, sort of, you'll find out why. Two sunspots fighting over something that's already dead, purple haze. Hers was a lower gravity and a wet silk of purple. That's not a word, I'll start over. Hers was a lower gravity in a wet silk of purple, the superiority in her opinion of let there be light over light. She said everything about Saturn that I didn't even know I held on to as a memory of a better sun. And I said, I don't know where you came from, but show me. She said our sun entered into it, its plasma crossing with Saturn's plasma, suffocating the sky with the catch, 5G. The electric discharge became a ladder to Earth, and this, she had to press into me, has everything to do with us now and how no baby is ever a mistake. And I said, I'll kiss it. She said she didn't want to get rid of the sun altogether. She just wanted it right on the edge to keep the ladder flowing. She said she hadn't heard that from anyone else, not anyone else in the family of God. A ladder with beads to hold onto for footing, no cataclysmic flood from the top of the earth getting gunned down tight, just the family she never had, Earth, Mars, Saturn, and the threat of danger. A stronger rope, feeling life as if it's lived. There were nights, and then there were days, and the change always made her tense, but she came to me. And I said, everyone who becomes famous agrees the best part is right before fame arrives. She told the press she gifted me. We opened up a joint bank account. We tried smack. Her children were gone just like that. She said it was the secret Bronze Age again. She cried for days. In the in-between before anyone discovered what we had done, we fought for the first time over whether or not doomsday happened right at the beginning or if it will happen tomorrow. No woman has ever come back to my hotel room just to sit on the edge of the bed, even if she claimed that. Choosing to form a heavenly conjunction with her was a terrible decision, but it was my best decision. All right. And so one last one here. I'm trying to find the one I'm thinking of. That is, yes. All right, so this sort of is an alternate history of the Bible. This is called Drunk Historicity, Joseph's teleportation staff found in a recent archaeological dig with all messages to the pharaoh stored and intact. Now I know we had no money, but I was rich as I could be. In my coat of many colors, my mama made for me. Dolly Parton. Everyone wanted to know why Rachel just gave birth to a lizard, and Jacob explained to all of his sons that this is baby Joseph, and he's a chief administrator, and when he's old enough, he'll wear a coat of many colors his mom will make for him. Nanobots in clay surrounded by silicon for the bots to link to and transmit a human body. His sons were like, fuck that, but okay. As soon as Joseph started talking, he told his brothers they would all bow to him, and his autonomic nervous system would be powered by their children's fear. When Joseph got his coat, so many people started offering him no-interest loans and asking him to rule them. His father loved it. His brothers noticed if they stressed Joseph out, like by calling him a reptile or shouting out the names of the coiled spirits they could see spinning in the back of his head, his face would glitch, as if it was a steel pin impression toy that someone punched. Joseph's coat was running on some new Coke formula shit-level math, but he was beautiful most of the time, like a Canaanite Donny Osmond. Soon his brothers tossed out Joseph, stole his holographic coat. That was to remind me that it's almost time to stop. Soon his brothers tossed out Joseph, stole his holographic coat, and put goat's blood on it to show their father. About 10 minutes after the father saw the coat and screamed, why, not my miracle son?" The coat contracted into a mesh ball drone that flew back to Joseph, unfurled, and then wagon-forwarded him back into a human. Plus, the coat made him get sick high from the blood, which was its second main function. Fast forward about 20 years, and Joseph was now right-hand man to the Pharaoh because Joseph had wings, which meant he came from the royal line of Alpha Draconis, just like the Pharaoh. Joseph saw his brothers one day shopping for wheat, so Joseph gave them riches and all the wheat they could carry, but the wheat had a GMO signature that meant all future crops grown from that seed would belong to the Pharaoh. Plus, the Pharaoh met the family and basically said, yeah, take care of my livestock. All along, the father wanted to be reptilian, so he asked Joseph to inject him with his proboscis, which Joseph did, even though it doesn't work like that, so Jacob just died painfully with a bunch of perverts watching. When it was over, Joseph pressed a button on his staff, told the Pharaoh, it's done, dude, and then teleported back to continue on with packing nines and stacking dimes. That was all foretold in Joseph's prize-winning dreams. Thank you very much.
How do you do that? One more time for Annie Christine. Come on. You folks out there, too. That's it, just one hand. Jeez. All right, before I bring up Will Nixon, just a couple of announcements. Our Zoom-only Calling All Poets event on third Thursdays this month is April 20th with Stephen Roberts. He will be the feature, and then there's an expanded open mic, depending on how many participants we have. Usually goes like 3 or 4 poems per person. Yeah, Calling All Poets will also be part of the new Hutzy TV streaming service starting in May. Some of the live streams that we've had here will be part of what Hutzy will be broadcasting. I don't know the exact date it's going to start in May, but that's kind of cool. You can download their app, see them online. It's HUDSYTV.com, I believe. And on May 5th, we'll be going live for the first time in 3 years at 9 Parodies Lane. It's the home of the Unison Project Center in New Paltz. And on May 5th, there will be Anthony Howarth, Cheryl Rice, and Stephanie J.T. Russell. She's just been nominated Poet Laureate of Dutchess County. And that is a live Zoom event. So if you can join us, please do. Our next featured reader is Will Nixon, who should not be any stranger to anyone here or online. He is the author of The Pocket Guide to Woodstock and co-author of Walking Woodstock, Journeys into the Wild Heart of America's Most Famous Small Town. His poetry books include My Late Mother as a Ruffed Grouse and Love in the City of Grudges. He lives in Kingston. He keeps things simple. Will Nixon.
Thank you, Mike, and everyone else. Some years ago, I came up with a writing exercise prompt, and I did it quite a bit with Mike and with Glenn and maybe Samuel and other people. And the exercise was that I would write a line, the other person would write a line, and we'd trade lines back and forth. We'd fill up a page. One friend of mine, Bruce Weber, said that when he did this with me, it was like being in a car where when the poem got to him, he was grabbing the wheel to try and keep it from going off the cliff. And when the poem came back to me, I was spinning the wheel to try to get us to go off the cliff. So it was kind of a wild, zany thing to do. We then each took that home, and out of those lines and zaniness, we would each compose our own poem, which was fascinating to me because the final poem we each came up with was so different, although you'd hear echoing lines. I'm kind of determined to get these poems finished and published, and last year I had a manuscript that was all ready to go, and I looked at it today, and as always happens with these poems, I started rewriting them. And today some of them got a lot shorter. So I'm not going to make 20 minutes, but I decided that to fill in, I will read a zombie poem to finish off with. Here we go. Advice to a young poet from your uncle in Canarsie. Make your poetry a knuckleball thrown by God, or a drunken butterfly skipping across goldenrods. Make your poetry into puppetry with light in a fog, or anarchists' prayers wrapped in a brown paper bag. Bitterness lurks in the corners, goaded by suicide. So trust yourself to go 10 rounds with a devil who rhymes. Load each punch with the kiss of delight, and keep smelling salts handy to revive your bloodied up schnoz. Sure, poetry may be frilly with ballerinas and bouquets, even get hijacked by a helium balloon or runaway stars. But it can still peel the scab off a lie and give truth its bite. You've got 5 minutes, so declare love and war at the mic. The furnace that forged your heart may have died, but go ahead, break your oath to earnest laments and fly. Your uncle from Canarsie explains marriage. Your wife has woken up with barbed wire skin. The kid's iguana likes to pee under neon. On TV, the salesman pitches the Rebel Bray, a golden SUV spinning tire mud from Australia into your living room. They eat hope from your wallet, this family trapped in a terrarium. Now, your mother acts all grandmotherly, reciting stolen bits from an opera. She's so giggly. Eat your commercials, they're good for you. The detective is here for your shame. You'd settle for a hard shot of neon and 0 MPG if the Rebel Bray could carry you lifetimes from here to where Nirvana sings at the opera and iguanas know how to behave. Wouldn't you rather live like the moon in a tuxedo, winking at Mars? Instead, Saturday morning means OJ served in jelly jars. Maybe for $50 extra, the detective will help you clean out the garage, the broken mower, the bird cage, the bicycle seat shredded by a raccoon sniffing for salts. Go ahead, rip some pages out of your wife's revolution. Don't let your heart dry in a terrarium, your wallet be a dead tongue. Your mother can still teach your kids how to stand up and pee like Aborigines. Your wife knows a chicken recipe also good for iguana. The detective has box seats for the opera. Your shame dies in the second act. It's a scream. As you'll see, I get a lot of mileage out of Your Uncle from Canarsie. This one is called Your Uncle from Canarsie Explains the Modern Novel. Everyone has a novel inside. Yours may be a centipede. Mine, 1,000 gray ladies who all see the same German doctor chasing the last Aphrodite butterfly. They say my chapters sound like scriptures written for suicides, and I wear the borrowed flesh of the dead. As Burroughs told us, deep in the jungle, the sad-eyed lemurs have waited a century to watch the nocturnal beast. Let me try that again. As Burroughs told us, deep in the jungle, the sad-eyed lemurs have waited a century to watch the nocturnal beast burst into blue flames. Oh, God, maybe I've told a few lies, but I'm down on my knees. Why, oh, why won't my daughter pick up the phone? Lessons from the Beats. And this is a quotation. Always bring back a nightmare at the end of your fork. So says William S. Burroughs. Don't be a hustler of the meaningless sky, or a scavenger who drains seas for submarines, or the German doctor who pins butterflies for museums. Ginsberg preserved a beautiful little Eskimo in his needle. Kerouac swept words off the streets of Tangiers. William S. Burroughs wanted what every ghost wants, to bathe in invisible ink and travel the odorless corridors of time. The Beats still lick the difficult colors off the West End and worship the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Did you know? The arresting officer ate Little Willie's sugar skull. As one judge said to another, "Isn't life strange?" Your Uncle from Canarsie explains the rapture. Not a week after the Super Bowl, not an icon was left standing. Dylan sipped sake after chewing too much saltwater taffy. The Queen kidnapped cheerleaders to entertain dolphins for the patriotic showing of colors no flag could contain, then filled her moat with burning champagne. In her pantry, guests stuffed silverware up their sleeves. Full of schemes, the Jack of Hearts threw around cash money like confetti. Forget you ever had a venereal uncle in Brighton Beach, a communist who did his pornographic dreaming in Russian. Buy a fistful of raffle tickets to treat your wife to the cyclone. At the top of the ride, fill your pockets with tiny, free planets. At least one is guaranteed to feel like Florida in February. Treat the Queen to a flaming flamingo like it's her birthday. She's still wearing teeth carved from the bones of the last giants. The rapture may be delayed, but bartenders love us forever. Career advice from your uncle in Canarsie. Don't sacrifice your dog's testicles or give your life to selling cookies and tires. Definitely don't wear a paste-on mustache to an office party hosted by a boss who buys shiny pants at Sears and drinks pina coladas with somebody's college-age daughter from Phoenix. The Queen of Siam in your needle isn't the answer. You'd be surprised what they'll pay for a bucket of worms if you catch the tide right at the piers. There's always truth to be dragged from the bottom. Work hard, don't bitch, always collect on Fridays. Otherwise, I'd offer advice, but I'm no paragon of employment. When the sales manager says, "I'll sell you another," just let the tide roll out to reveal the stink washed up from Staten Island. Your boss wants a new Fuller Brush man. Remember, Christmas never stopped layoffs, and human resources always wears fangs. Batteries cost extra, but are required. Why your uncle from Canarsie hates nostalgia. Don't be your father who janitored for 30 years at the Empire Hotel where they melted gold coins. Don't believe in the dreams of suicide virgins. God may steal your wealth out of your pockets, but your fingers can't touch him, not this time, not with your sorry history as an air guitarist. Are you listening? Or drifting back to Yonkers, where you kissed so many girls in the garage? Gloria? Claudia? Eva? Is anyone still married? Don't worry, the kindness in your wallet is still good with us. Now, Van Gogh, were he alive, would you sit for his portrait? Trim the frost out of your beard, abandon your dog-sad eyes. Let him paint the yellow rip in your psyche whenever you hear Kurt Cobain's fuzzy guitar. Sundays, the park fills with Van Gogh imitators in ratty straw hats who paint intensely out of focus, as if genius is just a bad pair of windshield wipers. Please don't waste your face on sentimentality. Please don't sit for sermons whispered by trees. Look at the kids stealing kisses behind batting cages. They don't care who watches or what's in their pockets. I say, count your blessings before the tax man finds you alone on the bench and starts speaking Latin. These days, the days begin with the kids hopping the turnstiles. If you don't like it, you're in the wrong cave. You watch the wrong beauty. You watch the wrong beauty with crime in your teeth and saints in your veins. You watch the wrong beauty drink the dirty liquors of Bombay and teach dawn to beggars who pray. She sips the religion out of martinis and strips to skin made of lead, this beauty who lives off your lies and kicks sand in your eyes. The address she gave is nothing like God's. So light a match to your pride and worship both sides. The beauty who beat the devil at charades and the beauty who crushes cathedrals to make wedding day rings. Listen, she whispers your name like a hurricane. Coyote. Is it true, Coyote, is it true what's written in gas station bathrooms? You lick rust for iron-poor blood, and you'll do anything for a hot heap of roadkill? Everyone hates you and wants to put out more poison, but your howls get mistaken for dead brakes ascending to heaven. You and I both know politics tastes like cheap leather, but you're in the running to become the next mayor. This one's a little longer. I've had my Dylan periods, which never seem to end, so I don't know if there's any Dylan in this, but there's rhyming, which I've never done before. Democracy. And woe to the whalers still casting dead votes after dining on radioactive lobsters instead of rolled oats. And woe to the whores still brandishing poetry quotes after the captain sentenced his queen to paddling the moat. And woe to the sailors still singing with rust in their throats as their barnacled boat sinks under stolen gold bloat. Let us board the good ship Rockefeller under moonlit umbrellas, where union waiters serve flaming tequilas to Nelson Mandela. Let us canoodle with the Queen of Siam, whose lipstick is vanilla, while bankers castrati taste test peeled grapes for salmonella. Let us train an army of monkeys to make mozzarella, as the orphan choir charms the convention by singing a cappella. Maybe the winner will be an oily stain off the coast of Maine, or cold amoebas amassing in hopes of conquering Spain. Maybe Bathsheba prefers raspberries to naked men in the rain. Or the captain would trade caviar for Cinderella clones with brains. Maybe con artists will celebrate the last election down the drain as we load the train with two of everything for the next fruited plain. Hope should stand taller than pink flamingos in Baltimore. Faith shouldn't pay monthly cable fees to hear senatorial bores. Victory should be more nourishing than chocolate bunnies galore. Fairness deserves better than pashas with 100 wives who snore. Go ahead, deliver your pulpit lamentations about Hollywood gore. Democracy is the pirate's art of taking more and more and more. And here's a final one of these. Salvage. Let us pluck bright futures from millionaires' caravans and load wagons with cherry petals for the blind orphan's wedding. Let us dance to haywire clocks and bake pecan pies for the next revolution. Let us join our better angels in group hugs and wish the albatross a safe journey. Let us heal the broken horizon before we run out of poems. And since I did so much cutting on those poems, I'll read a little bit longer one to finish. It's an old favorite of mine called Why I Love Zombies, and I use the heart shape. Why I love zombies. They've let go of their pride. They're not vampire aristocrats spoiled by virginal necks or mummies older than Christ. They're retired plumbers in boxer shorts pulled snug on beer and potato chip bellies, or housewives in dumpy nightgowns wandering barefoot on the lawn, hypnotized by crickets. They're not Frankenstein's monster with bolts in his neck, or alien cone heads with 500 IQs and rotten claw teeth. They're volunteer firemen with charcoal puffy eyes from watching Carson night after night, or secretaries softening faces with cold cream before bed. They're not bikers, hippies, or rednecks, the stock villains of 1968, but young men with good haircuts and worthwhile careers, teaching high school biology or managing a Chevrolet showroom. All good citizens, they're eager to help a young crew from Pittsburgh film a low-budget nightmare at an old farmhouse. Amid spotlights slashing the lawn, they shuffle and groan as cameramen kneel for close-ups, gunshots to the chest, spikes to the head. They're thrown out and burned like junk furniture. They have no idea. One day they'll be famous, terrifying us by being so ordinary. Thank you.
How about another hand for Annie, Will Nixon, and Samuel Claybrook? One more time. How about another hand for Will Nixon, Annie Christain, and Samuel Claybrook? That goes for you folks there online, too. Just a couple of announcements before we say shove off. We will be back here on the second Thursday of May 11th, with Ruth Danon, Greg Miller, and Matthew Spearing. I will be here next Friday, April 21st, reading from my upcoming book, Buckshot Reckoning, with the wonderful Jazzoetry Quartet of Robert Kopech on bass, Eric Person on saxophones and flutes, Dean Sharp on drums, and Joey Trantina on keyboards. So please, that's going to be live. It's going to be recorded live. It's going to be for the CD that'll be included with the book. So if you can come on down, please come on down. If you watch it online, please do that too. Dave, want to say thank you for doing this for the last 2 years and for having Greenkill Gallery. And again, we will be going live at Unison Project Center, 9 Parodies Lane, May 5th for the first time in 3 years. So please join us if you can. Thank you, everybody. See you in May. Take care.